Okay, so we have a fun little extra game for Shabbat this week, which is that I just switched the strings of my guitar. And what that means is that we may have to retune the guitar as we go because the strings just need to get a little help when they're new. So, in the meantime, we are going to begin with a nigun that we haven't sung in a while, but is a good one. We learned it from our very own Joel Siegel a while back, perhaps over the summer. And we're really excited because he will be with us this upcoming Shabbat. And so to kind of get into the Shabbat spirit, I figured we would sing a nigun that he brought to us. So as you remember it, feel free to sing along. And if you don't remember it, you can sing along anyways as well. We are going to welcome Shabbat with the lighting of Shabbat candles, and it is my pleasure to invite Janine Charlton to share with us a reading and to to say the blessings on page 120.
As we enter the sacred time of Shabbat, may Adonai help us put aside our stresses of daily life and absorb the calm of his holy moment. As Shabbat begins, may Adonai revive our ability to feel the infinite potential this ceasing affords us to regather our scattered selves. In the hallowed space Shabbat creates, May Adonai refresh our connections to our loved ones and community, expanding the threads which bind us together. Maya Conrad. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. We are going to page 134 as we sing more psalms to get into the Shabbat spirit. And getting in the Shabbat spirit is filled with some deep cuts, some songs that we haven't sung in a while. At the top of the page, we read, Zamru l'Adonai b'chinor v'kol zimra. Sing praise to Adonai with the lyre and the melodious song. So again, as you remind yourself of the melody, feel free to sing along. And even if it's new, feel free to sing along. Zamru l'Adonai bechinor v'kol zimra. 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 Zamru l'Adonai bechinor Now that we've had that moment of calmer getting in the Shabbat spirit, we also want to get into the more upbeat, joyous spirit of Shabbat as well. So we turn our page to 138 for the words of Lecha Dodi as we welcome Shabbat, as though she is a bride and we are thrilled to celebrate her joyous day with her. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad, Ishmianu el hameyuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad. L'shemo tiferet v'litzchila la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lechu v'necha, ki mekor ha'beracha, mirosh mikedem nesucha, sof ma'aseh v'machshava tchila la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Boi v'shalom ateret bala, gam b'simcha u'v'tzohala, dochem u'ne'am segula. Boi chala, la 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 lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi, likrat kala, b'nei Shabbat nekabela. We continue on page, please be seated. We continue on page 142 for the words of Shalom Aleichem. Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharet, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boachem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzeitzchem leShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We are on page 146 for the words of Baruch Hu. Please rise in the ways that you are able. Yai lai lai, yai lai lai lai, yai lai 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 lai, yai lai lai. Please be seated. And we turn to the next page. In the middle of the Hebrew. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. You are creator of day and night, rolling light away from darkness and darkness from light. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Borei yom v'layla, golel or mipnei choshech, golel or mipnei choshech, v'choshech mipnei or. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Roll into dark, roll into light, night becomes day, day turns to night. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, who brings on the evening. We turn to page 152. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha bechol levavecha uvechol nafshecha uvechol meodecha. Ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavecha hayom levavecha ve'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam ve'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech uvshochbecha uvkumecha ukshartam leot al yadecha ve'hayu letotafot b'neinecha uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha uvisharecha למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם emet. It's my pleasure to invite Judy to share with us a reading on page 159.
Sing the song of men and women joined in understanding and respect, the song of God's miracles, an earth protected and cherished, a gift for our children and the generations to come, the song of a land once ravished by war, now quiet and content, her soldiers home to leave no more, the song of a world redeemed, the song of peace.
We are on page 158 with the words of Mi Chamocha. Ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilo dosei vele, nora tehilo dosei vele. Malechutecha uvanecha b'kiyayam livnei Moshe u'Miriam, se'elianu ve'amru, se'elianu ve'ameru, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed. Ya la la ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 la. Baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael. Praised are you, Adonai, for redeeming Israel. We turn the next page to Hashkivenu. And we ask God that we are able to get the rest that we need, both in terms of falling asleep tonight, but also tomorrow's Shabbat. Maybe we might also be able to get a nap in tomorrow as well. And whenever it is that we seek rest, may we be able to be rejuvenated and wake up refreshed and renewed and excited for what it is that we have on the docket after we wake up. Hashkivenu Adonai, Eloheinu Baruch Ata Adonai, HaPorei Sukkot Shalom, Aleinu va'al kol amo Yisrael, va'al Yerushalayim. We make our way to the tefillah, the core part of our service this evening. We are on page 164. Please rise in the ways that you are able. Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu ve'Elohei Avotenu ve'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, ve'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, ve'Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Omer Chasadim Tovim, ve'Konei Hakol, ve'Zocher Chasdei Avot v'Imahot, u'Mevi Geula Livnei V'neihem, Le'man Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer Moshiach u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh hakol atah Rav le'Hoshia, Mashiv haruach u'morid hagashem, Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechayeh hakol berachamim rabim, Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim, Umekayim emunato, Lishenei afar, Micha mocha ba'al gevurot, Umido melach, Melech memit umechayeh, Umatzmiach Yeshua, V'ne'eman atah l'hachayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh hakol. Atah kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, U'kadoshim b'chol yom yehalelucha selah. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. Please take a moment for your own silent prayer, and when your prayer is complete, feel free to be seated. We are on page 180. Shalom bimromav, Uya'aseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. This week, we are reading from Parshat Yitro, named after Moses' father-in-law, Jethro. And a story that we will not be focusing on so much this evening, but in short, we'll just say that the fact that we are naming a Torah portion after somebody not from the Jewish people because of the amazing lesson that we teach him, or that we are taught by him, really speaks wonders to what we can learn, not just from the things that are a little bit more obvious, the way that God says, this is how you do it, and then you're like, aha, I've learned from God that this is how we're supposed to do it. Sometimes we actually learn from those we might least suspect. But let's rewind for a second. How did we get here? After escaping Egypt and then crossing the Red Sea and then singing with Miriam and her timbrels, following Miriam as she sings her song, the Israelites complained a little bit, and then there was the first delivery of manna, and then the Israelites complained a little bit more, and then Moses got water from a rock the first time, which was the correct way. He hasn't been told yet that he's not going to enter into the land of Israel. And then a brutal war with Amalek and his people. Yisrael, the people of Israel, arrive in the vicinity of Mount Sinai. And we tell the story of arriving at Mount Sinai and receiving the 10 Commandments more than once during the year. We tell this story during Shavuot when we speak of the thunder and the lightning, and that it was so, it caused so much fear that the people of Israel actually said, you know what, Moses, we'll leave that for you. You can go talk with God. We'll be over here and you will tell us, and we trust you, we promise. We tell that story during Shavuot. We also sometimes include the story of Sinai as kind of a happy stopping point for the Passover story. And we might include a reference to the receiving of Torah, this scene at Mount Sinai during Simchat Torah, when we celebrate once again that we are finishing and then starting over the reading of the Torah. And we tell the story this week in its rightful place among the Torah stories, on a day in February or in the month of Shabbat. When our people were near Mount Sinai, Moses and God began to prepare them for the revelation that they would be experiencing. Rather than just seeing God as a pillar of fire at night and a pillar of cloud during the day, Am Yisrael would be hearing the words of God directly from God. And we often talk about this day of revelation as a day meant truly for every person in the people of Israel. They are all meant to experience revelation. And sometimes we even go so far as to say that not just every person of Am Yisrael at that time was at Sinai for revelation, but rather every Jewish soul of every Jewish person throughout history, from the beginning of time through to the end of time, or forever and ever, really, since that's more our focus, was at Mount Sinai at that moment. And it's a beautiful way to tell the story. I love that version. That's the way that I want to focus on it. However, when we look at the text of the story that we read this week, it's a little bit more complicated than that. Although in Exodus chapter 19, verses 10 and 11, God instructs Moses, go to the people and warn them to stay pure today and tomorrow. Let them wash their clothes and let them be ready for the third day. For on the third day, Adonai will come down in the sight of all the people on Mount Sinai. When Moses goes to the people, he adds a bit of interpretive work to what God means by stay pure. And his interpretation might seem a little counter to the idea that this revelation is, as God says, in the sight of all of the people on Mount Sinai, for all of the people. We read from chapter 19, verse 14, that Moses came down from the mountain to the people and warned the people to stay pure, and they washed their clothes, just like God said. However, then we read in chapter 15 that Moses said, be ready for the third day. The men among you should not go near a woman. If revelation is meant to be for all of the people of Israel, why the distinction between men and women? Why do they have to be separate from one another? Was this the purity that God meant to instruct for Am Yisrael? Or was Moses going rogue with the explanation of what God wanted? And what did this mean for the women at Sinai? I am not a prophet like Moses. I can't tell you whether this was exactly what God intended or not. It's not the way that that's not the God that I believe in, to say, you know what would make us the most pure in order for you to receive this situation, this revelation, is to stay away from women. However, there are women, Jewish female writers, who have written on this very topic, who talk about how they imagine this experience may have affected their moment at Sinai. And we actually have a compilation of some of them from this beautiful little book right here. It's called The Jewish Woman's Book of Wisdom, Thoughts from Prominent Jewish Women on Spirituality, Identity, Sisterhood, Family, and Faith. So I want to share with you some of the responses that some pretty powerful Jewish women have written in response to this verse. The first is entitled I'm Weary of Mountains by Sandy Eisenberg Sasso. We must always go up some mountain. Must we always go up some mountain with Abraham, with Isaac to Moriah? The air is so thin up there, it's hard to breathe. Must we always go up some mountain with Moses to Sinai? It's so far from the earth, and what's below appears so small you can forget it's real. Must we always go up to some mountain with Moses on Nebo, climbing? There's only one way, and loneliness. Must we always go up to some mountain with Elijah to Carmel? The ascent is not hard, it's the descending, too easy to slip, with no one to catch your fall. I'm weary of mountains, where we are always looking up or looking down and sacrificing so our neck hurts and we need glasses and our feet upon the mountains are blistered and our shoes are always wrong. Not enough soul. Can we sit instead with Sarah in a tent, next to Deborah under a palm tree, with Hannah in prayer, along Miriam by the sea, to wash our feet, to catch our breath and our soul? Sandy Eisenberg Sasso is a rabbi. She was the rabbi in Indianapolis, Indiana, and she often writes liturgical poems such as this. The next poem is by Sharon Kessler, and she is a poet who has published her works in journals and anthologies throughout the United States and in Israel. In the desert, where old legends conspire, we are making fresh tracks in the sand, carrying our burdens to some resting place. Above the black crest of rock, an arc of slow fire rises. Morning again, we march forward, a tribe of mute warriors, daughters of a race so lost, no legend tells of us. We too heard voices in the wilderness, but we built no tabernacle to contain them. The sign of the covenant is not incised upon our flesh, but deep in the one heart of our body, the everlasting bush burns and is not consumed. The last poem is called We All Stood Together by Merle Feld. My brother and I were at Sinai. He kept a journal of what he saw, of what he heard, of what it all meant to him. I wish I had kept such a record of what happened to me there. It seems like every time I wanted to write, I can't. I'm always holding a baby, one of my own or one for a friend, always holding a baby, so my hands are never free to write things down. And then, as time passes, the particulars, the hard data, the who, what, where, when, why, slip away from me, and all I'm left with is the feeling. But feelings are just sounds, the vowel barking of a mute. My brother is so sure of what he heard. After all, he's got a record of it. Consonant after consonant after consonant. If we could remember it together, we could recreate holy time, sparks flying. What these incredible poets wrote in response to this telling of our receiving of the covenant at Sinai is that it likely did feel different for the women who were present. And more importantly, we actually just don't know what their experience was because their record isn't the one that's recorded. And yet, they hold fast to the idea that just because their experience was not recorded in writing does not mean that it's any less important and that their revelation was any less meaningful. And in fact, what we heard from Rabbi Sasso is that that's not the only time that we experience revelation. Revelation is not just the big moments at Sinai. It's also in the small moments, sitting under a tree, dancing with our friends by the sea. These two are moments of revelation. And these two are moments when women got to be a part of the experience. What we know is that revelation was so far beyond our words that any kind of help to grasp at the experience helps us to have a bigger picture. We are missing a big part of the picture in the stories of women. But when we put together the resources that we do have, when we notice the ways that these feelings of revelation, when we put together the various tellings and retellings and oral stories and reimaginings, when we put all of these stories together, that gives us a fuller picture and probably a little bit more accurate of what it meant to be at Sinai. If every soul of every Jewish person throughout history was at Sinai, so we say, then each recounting and retelling has its value. And we gain from hearing that story and putting it into the wider picture. Cain Yehirat Zon, may this be God's will. With these words of Torah on our heart, we think of those who are in need of healing at this moment. If you are joining us on Zoom, if you would like to share the name of somebody you are thinking of who's in need of healing, please feel free to momentarily unmute, but please remember to remute after you're done sharing.
Cheryl Smith, Stephen Steinberg, Adrian Brown, Craig Spiegel, Bruce Baldwin, Sarah, and Linda Spiegel.
My sister Jeannie, Ellen, Jerry Ann, Marilyn Gerlich, and Louise Smith.
My Danny, Kent and Karen Rasmussen, Barbara Lowe, and Muriel and Stephen Gregg.
Jim Osborne, David Harris, and Danny Ratcliffe.
Nephew Pond.
And for those who are in person, if you are thinking of somebody in need of healing at this time, healing of body, healing of mind, healing of soul, please feel free to share their names aloud or in your heart as my hand passes over your section. for all those names that we've said aloud and those that we've kept in our hearts. We turn to page 371 for the words of Mishaberach. Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor HaBracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen. Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha leavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shalema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen. And while we are thinking of those in need of healing, we turn our hearts eastward. And we pray for a peace that goes on forever and ever, so long that we entrust that we no longer need to learn war anymore. We turn to page 179 for the words of Lo Yisagoy. We now turn to page 586 for the words of Aleinu. Please rise in the ways that you are able. Aleinu leshabeach la'adon hakol, la'tet gedula liotzer breshit, shelo asanu kegoye haratzot, velo samanu k'mishpachot ha'adama, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. Please be seated. We take a moment to think of those who are no longer with us on this earth, but remain with us in our memories of them and in their influence of the world that we live in. This Shabbat, we remember the yard sites that occurred this past week, and we invite you to please rise as your loved one's name is read. This Shabbat, we are remembering J. Tenon, father of Edith Kaplan, Lumen Barbosa, mother of Melody Barbosa Kalik, William Bill Bitter, father of Arlen Bitter Peavy, Ellen Brotherton, mother of Joe Eagle, Kay Carmona, remembered by Tony Monroe, Leah Pfefferman, mother of Edith Kaplan, Bernard Field, father of Penny Feinberg, Coleman Koresh, father of Sarah Leinkram, Herbert Marks, father of Monica Silberberg, and Anne Weiner, mother of Alan Weiner. We now invite all who are observing their first year of mourning to rise at this time. And we now rise as a community for the words of Mourner's Kaddish, which can be found on page 598. Yitzgadal v'yitzkadash shmei Rabba, ve'alma divrach chirute v'yamlich malchute, b'chayechon uvyomechon, uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach le'olam ul'almei almaya. Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitzpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei dekudsha b'richu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbachata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru, amen. Yehi shlama Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'al kol yoshvei tevel, v'imru, amen. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing, to which we say, amen. Please be seated. And it's my pleasure to invite Terry Gladish, our Chevra Chesed chair, to share with us words of announcement.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Remember to check the weekly and our website for all the news and event information. There's exciting events coming up. Now I'm very eager to read it as well. Additionally, on March 1st, TBT will be joining in the National Shabbat across America, singing, dancing, and services around Shabbat tables in the sanctuary. Registration will be available next week. Torah study will be held this Sunday at 11 a.m. Thanks to Alan Eisenbrook for managing AV, and to Ann Anderson and Karen Bressler and Michelle Eisenbrook for representing the worship committee tonight. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. And a few other things that I will just plug. Next week, as I mentioned at the beginning of the service, we are so grateful to be joined with by Joel Siegel. Joined with Joel Siegel? Joel Siegel will be joining us. And we are so thrilled after a brief hiatus due to some health concerns. We are so grateful that he is feeling well enough to join us again. And I hope that you will join us next week at 7 p.m. Not 7:30, 7 p.m. 7 p.m. Write it down in your calendars. If you are like me, you will forget. 7 p.m. for services. It will be a blast and a half, and we're really looking forward to it. And also, on February 18th, so in a couple weeks from now, a few weeks from now, we have the honor of learning with Dr. Victor Lieberman, who actually was one of my professors at the University of Michigan, but he also is just an incredible scholar, and he will be teaching us and really answering our questions about the history of the Middle East. There's been a lot going around on social media and in the news about telling these stories about Israel and Palestine and the Middle East in general, and it can often feel like there's a bias, there's kind of a specific way that it's being told, and it may not feel like it's the whole story. He is very talented. He's well known actually for a course that he teaches that brings in all of the nuance and all of the context that can help us to feel like we have a wider picture. And I am so grateful that he is going to be teaching us on Sunday, February 18th. So mark your calendars. Registration is required, and for online security reasons, it will be for our temple members and for members of our Torah study group. However, if you're a part of the community and you're not officially a member and you want to talk to me, I'm sure we can find a way. So let me know, and I hope that you will join us. And now we are going to shift over to gratitude. We are going to start off with gratitude for our family and our loved ones. I encourage you to reach out to somebody that you consider to be family, however you define it. And if you are not in the same room as somebody that you would like to send this blessing to, I encourage you to hold them in your heart, and we hope that they receive this blessing. May God bless you and keep you. May God shine God's face upon you and be gracious to you. May God's face turn to you and grant you peace, to which we say, Amen. And now we will turn to page 123 for the words of Kiddush. And for our friends on Zoom, this is your time to go grab your juice and your challah, or a sweet beverage, and some kind of bread. And we will get started in just a moment. We're on page 123. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher קידשנו במצוותיו, ורצבנו בשבת קודשו, באהבה וברצון הנחילנו, זיכרון למעשה בראשית, כי הוא יום תחילה למקראי קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי בנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, ושבת קודשך באהבה וברצון הנחלתנו. ברוך אתה אדוני מקדש השבת. לחיים. Now we will bless the motzi. Baruch ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz b'te'avon. We are going to conclude this evening with the words of Adon Olam. On page 625. Look at that. Me knowing the page number of a concluding song, it's a miracle. Adon Olam, Asher Malach, B'terem Kol, Yetzir Nivra, Le'et Nasa, V'chepsa Kol, Asai Melech, Shemo Nikra. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chepsa Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh V'tifara. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chepsa Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh V'tifara. Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh V'tifara. Ve'hu Echad Ve'ein Sheni Ve'ein L'hamshil Lo L'hachbira B'li Reshit B'li Tachlit V'lo Haoz V'hamisra. Ve'hu Eli Ve'chai Goali V'tzur Chevli Be'et Zara. Ve'hu Nisi Umanosli Minat Kosir Beyom Ekra. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chepsa Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh Ve'hu Yeh V'tifara. Adon Olam Asher Malach B'terem Kol Yetzir Nivra Le'et Nasa V'chepsa Kol Azai Melech Shemo Nikra Ve'acharei Kichlot HaKol Levado Yimloch Nora Ve'hu Haya Ve'hu Hoveh בתפארה, והוא היה והוא הווה, בתפארה. בידו הפקיד רוחי, בעת תשען, ואירא ועם רוחי, גביעתי, אדוני לי, אדוני לי, ולא אירא. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה והוא יהיה בתפארה. אדון עולם אשר מלך בטרם כל יציר נברא, לעת נעשה וחפצו כל אזי מלך שמו נקרא, ואחרי ככלות הכל לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה בתפארה, והוא היה והוא הווה בתפארה. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.